The one question SpongeBob fans have been asking for 25 years finally has an answer hidden inside an episode nobody thought to look at. Rock Bottom ended with Patrick Star descending alone into a pitch-black trench, no flashlight, no language skills, no balloon, and no idea that SpongeBob was already home. The show never explained what happened to him down there. He just showed up in the next episode completely fine, no lines about it, no throwaway joke, nothing. For 2.5 decades, fans called it a plot hole, an oversight, a lazy writing decision. They were wrong. There is one episode buried in Season 2 that, when you line up the details correctly, doesn't just explain how Patrick got out of Rock Bottom. It accidentally reveals something about Patrick Star that completely reframes how you've been watching him this entire time. Stay until the end, because the last piece of this is the part that will genuinely mess with you. Section 1. The problem with Patrick. Before we get to the solution, we need to establish exactly how strange Patrick Star actually is as a character. On the surface, he's simple. He sleeps under a rock, he can't read, he forgets things mid-sentence, and in one episode, he genuinely couldn't figure out how to open a box for several minutes.
Exactly as you do. Oh no, I broke it!
The show plays all of this as comedy, and it works, but there's a pattern that the writing keeps returning to across multiple seasons that doesn't quite fit the Patrick is just dumb explanation. Patrick has an uncanny ability to be exactly where he needs to be without understanding why he's going there. He boards the bus back to Rock Bottom to save SpongeBob without knowing SpongeBob was already home. He shows up at locations before SpongeBob calls him. In Nature Pants from Season 1, he tracks SpongeBob into the wild with no map, no direction, no trail. He just finds him. In I'm with Stupid, Patrick fakes being even more clueless than usual with such commitment and such specific detail that it stops feeling like acting halfway through. There's a version of Patrick running beneath the version the show presents to you, and Rock Bottom is where it gets the most visible. Because think about what Patrick actually did in that episode. He stepped off a bus that was already leaving into a place where nothing made sense, completely alone, with no plan and no tools. The show cut away before showing you what happened next, and it never came back. That's not a plot hole, that's a door left open on purpose. Section 2. The episode everyone misread. The episode is called Patrick Smart Pants. Season 4 first aired in 2005. The premise sounds like a throwaway comedy setup. Patrick falls off a cliff, and when SpongeBob reassembles him, he accidentally puts Patrick's top half on upside down. The wrong end becomes the head, and suddenly Patrick is a genius. Most people remember this episode for the jokes. Smart Patrick is condescending, uses words nobody understands, and gets excluded from everything he used to enjoy with SpongeBob.
No, thanks again.
Well, maybe later we can play pirates.
Robert, my dear. Oh, it's no use. We've just grown apart.
The lesson is something about being careful what you wish for. Viewers watched it, laughed at the gag, and moved on. But here's what's actually going on underneath that premise. When Patrick becomes intelligent, the first thing he does is not learn to read or figure out how to open that box or solve any of the practical problems his regular self would struggle with. The first thing he does is look up at the night sky. He studies astronomy, he calculates planetary trajectories, he drafts a scientific paper in one sitting. His mind, given full access to itself, immediately reaches for the largest possible questions it can hold. This is not what a character written as simply stupid would do with intelligence. A character who is just a comedy prop for being dumb would misuse the intelligence for something small. Patrick used it to look at the universe. The ending of the episode is where it really lands. Patrick figures out on his own that the top half on his head isn't actually his brain. It's a coral piece that only mimics the shape of one. His real head goes back on, and his intelligence disappears, but in the final seconds before it goes, Patrick looks at SpongeBob and says something that the show treats as a joke, but absolutely isn't. He says he understood what it all meant, and that he's okay with losing it. He chooses to go back. Section 3. What that choice actually means. A character who has no inner life doesn't get a scene like that. A comedy prop doesn't choose. The writing gives Patrick a moment of complete clarity, full access to every thought he would ever have, and the decision he makes in that moment is to return to the version of himself that can sit under a rock and be happy. That is not stupidity. That is something closer to the opposite. Now go back to rock bottom. Patrick gets off the bus and descends alone into a place that defeated Spongebob completely. Spongebob, who is resourceful, who builds things, who problem solves constantly, who made multiple elaborate plans to escape, still almost didn't make it out without a literal balloon appearing out of the dark to carry him home. And Patrick, with no flashlight and no plan, walked in after him. The episode never shows you what happened inside because it doesn't need to. Patrick Smartpants already told you. Patrick is not operating the way SpongeBob operates. He's not problem solving. He's not planning. He's not lucky. He's running on something the show keeps hinting at, but never names directly, a kind of instinct so deep it reads as stupidity from the outside because it skips every visible step in between. He doesn't figure out how to escape rock bottom. He just does. The same way he found SpongeBob in the wild without a map. The same way he showed up in the right place before being called. The same way he sat in front of total intelligence and decided, clearly and calmly, that he didn't want it. Section 4, the paradox and the answer. Here is Patrick's paradox, stated plainly. The less Patrick appears to understand, the more effectively he moves through the world. The more intelligent he becomes, the more he suffers. Intelligence makes him lonely and isolated and wrong about things in a completely different way than usual. His regular self, the one the show frames as the joke, consistently ends up exactly where he needs to be. There's a term from cognitive science called embodied cognition, the idea that some kinds of intelligence don't live in the conscious, reasoning part of the brain. They live in the body, in habit, in pattern recognition so fast it never surfaces as a thought. You've experienced this. You've driven a familiar route and arrived without remembering any of it. You've caught something before you knew you were going to catch it. Your hand moved before your brain filed the paperwork. Patrick Star is running almost entirely on that system. He's not thinking about where to go. He's not calculating. He's just moving in a direction that turns out to be correct. And the show frames it as comedy because there is no visible reasoning attached to it. Rock bottom selected against SpongeBob specifically. Every bus pulled away from him. Every plan failed. The place seemed to work against him. Patrick walked in with less than SpongeBob had and walked out the other side without the show even needing to show you how. The paradox solves itself when you stop trying to measure Patrick by the wrong standard. He is not a failed version of a smart character. He is a completely different kind of entity operating by completely different rules. And rock bottom, the one place in the whole show designed to trap and confuse, had no specific defense against someone who wasn't trying to think their way out. Conclusion. Patrick Smartpants looks like a joke episode about a temporary gimmick. Rock bottom looks like an unresolved plot hole. Put them together and what you actually have is the show accidentally writing a complete theory of what Patrick Star is across 2 episodes, 4 seasons apart, that it never once drew a line between. Patrick didn't survive rock bottom despite being Patrick. He survived it because of it. And one last thing. In the final shot of rock bottom, as SpongeBob floats upward past the descending bus, he makes eye contact with Patrick through the window and says nothing. He keeps floating. Fans have always read that as SpongeBob being selfish, prioritizing his own escape over his best friend. But what if SpongeBob already knew?